Lord, when I look back now, I know it was you, because there were moments I had no strength left. There were days I smiled in front of people and fell apart when I was alone. There were battles I never told anyone about. There were nights I didn't think I could survive, but somehow I made it through, and now I know it was not my strength, it was not my wisdom, it was not because I had it all together. It was your mercy, your hand, your presence, your grace. God, you carried me through it all. I remember the heavy mornings when I could barely leave the bed. Every thought felt like a mountain, every prayer felt left unsaid. I remember trying to be brave when my soul was running low, telling everyone I'd be okay, but deep inside I didn't know. There were tears behind the worship, there was pain beneath the praise, there were questions with no answers, there were long and restless days. Still you never stopped pursuing, still you never let me fall. When my own strength gave up on me, you carried me through it all. I can see it now, looking back through grace. You were in the valley, you were in that place. God carried me through it all, through the fire, through the rain. When I thought that I was losing, you were healing me through pain. God carried me through it all when my soul was worn and weak. And the reason I am standing now is because you strengthened me. God carried me through it all, through the nights I could not pray, when I didn't have the faith to stand, you still made a way. God carried me through it all, and I'll never be the same, for the hands that held me in the dark still call me by my name. I've walked through closed-off seasons where the door would not swing wide. I have stood in broken silence with disappointment by my side. I have watched my plans unravel, I have felt my heart grow thin. I have begged for quick deliverance while you work deep within. And I did not always see it, I did not always understand, but even in my lowest places, my life was in your hands. What I called the end was only where your mercy chose to start. And the God who kept me breathing was rebuilding my heart. You were not absent, dark still call me by my name. I have walked through closed off seasons where the door would not swing wide. I have stood in broken silence with disappointment by my side. I have watched my plans unravel. I have felt my heart grow thin. I have begged for quick deliverance while you work deep within. And I did not always see it, I did not always understand. But even in my lowest places, my life was in your hands. What I called the end was only where your mercy chose and your grace, your smile carried me through it all. God carried me through it all. So I'll tell the world He can lift the deeply wounded, He can steady trembling hands. God carried me through it all, and His mercy did not end. The same God who brought me out before will surely do it again. God carried me through it all, and His love was stronger still, stronger than my broken thinking, stronger than my shattered will. God carried me through it all, and my song forever will be, I did not make it by my own strength. It was God who carried me. You carried me through it all. You carried me through it all. You carried me through it all. And I'm still standing by your grace, Lord. By your grace, Lord. By your grace, Lord. By your grace, Lord. I'm still here. Never dropped me, never left me, always held me all the way through. You carried my weakness, you carried my sorrow, you carried my questions, you carried tomorrow. You carried my morning, you carried my pain, you carried my breaking and called me by name. You carried the weight I could not hold and kept me alive when my heart grew cold. God carried me through it all, and I will never cease to bless the God who walks beside me till He brought me into peace. God carried me through it all, and now my soul can say that every step of my survival was mercy all the way. God carried me through it all. So let this worship rise for the one who saw me in the valley, still deserves my life. God carried me through it all, and forever I will sing to the God whose faithfulness became the reason I still breathe. Lord, you carried me when I was too weak to hold on. You carried me when my heart was too tired to fight.